all parameters of SSR and AQAR. We will be discussing all the criteria during these 7 days of faculty development program, all major aspects of NAAC A and A process, so any issues related to both first cycle and subsequent cycles will be addressed. And we are assured that by the end of the FDP, we all will be benefited with the sessions taken by our highly esteemed resource persons. So without much further ado, may I now request the program director, respected Professor P. N. Jha Sir, Director SMS Varanasi, to formally welcome the gathering. May we please have you on the mic, sir?
Hello. Hello, am I audible? Anamika, could you hear me?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it seems directors have not yet joined us.
He has joined. I think he is visible, I think.
Is he visible?
Yes, sir. On video, he is visible.
Okay. Sir, can you, if you could unmute yourself. Director, sir, if you could unmute yourself.
Sir, I'll unmute him, I think.
Yeah, please.
Hello.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Am I visible also?
Yes, sir,
yes,
you are.
Sir.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir, you are visible, sir.
Kartikeya, the guest has joined.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Everybody is there.
Should I start?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
कार्तिकेय सर स्क्रीन शेयरिंग बंद करिए, अनामिका मैम स्क्रीन शेयरिंग बंद करिए.
हेलो, गुड आफ्टरनून.
Visible and
विजिबल है सर, शुरू कर सकते हैं. आवाज भी आ रही है.
Hello, good afternoon, friends. Honorable Chief Guest of the session, Dr. Pratibha Singh, NAAC Deputy Advisor from New Delhi. The program convener, our FDP convener, Dr. Amitav Pandey, Associate Professor. My other colleague, Dr. Pallavi Pathak, who is the IQAC coordinator and coordinator of this program. The Honorable Chairman, SMS Society, Sri S.K. Singh, and Dr. M.P. Singh, Honorable Executive Secretary. My all colleague faculty members who are directly associated to organize and run this program. My friend and registrar, Mr. Sanjay Gupta, all the participating teachers and research scholars, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a matter of scholastic exuberance and immense satisfaction for all of us that School of Management Sciences, Varanasi, have been organizing a one-week online faculty development program on a highly contemporary issue in today's time: quality assurance in higher education institutions, revised NAAC framework, with Dr. Pratibha Singh, one of the eminent academicians and one of the most highly acclaimed institutional quality connoisseurs, being our today's resource person and the chief guest of the program. At the auspicious occasion, I take this opportunity to extend a warm welcome to all of you. Friends, during this one-week FDP, some other expert persons are likely to join us. So today being the first day, and as a part of my moral responsibility, let me take this opportunity once again to extend my grateful thanks and a hearty welcome to Professor Bhagwan Jagwani, Director, Allen House Group of Colleges, Kanpur; Professor Mahendra Shirsat, Director, Rusa Center for Advanced Sensor Technology, and Director, DDU Kaushal Kendra; Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Marathwada University, Aurangabad; and Professor Pratosh Bansal, Institute of Engineering and Technology, Devi Ahilya Vishwavidyalaya, Indore. Friends, you know that the School of Management Sciences, Varanasi, has been a highly proactive institution. And this has been once again recently proved that during this lockdown period, our faculty members have been very successfully driven the course of teaching learning in a very quality way and with 100% satisfaction and reach to our students of all the various courses. On account of this social distancing clause of the ongoing COVID-19, this time, on account of following the protocols of this social distancing, we have got no other option than to organize this FDP in the online mode only. I am, however, fully confident that the program would be equally effective with the presence of persons like Dr. Pratibha Singh. I again extend a very hearty welcome to Madam. Friends, you know, School of Management Sciences, Varanasi, has been a center of excellence, and this FDP has got something special because this FDP is the first which is being conducted in the online mode. Second, that this is the FDP which is being conducted for the first time in the silver jubilee year of the institution. So it is special for you. And I think that the takeaway which you will be having would be of immense help and benefits to you. Friends, you know, you belong to teaching profession, a highly noble profession, a very sacred profession since time immemorial. You are also supposed to be a self-taught. Nobody can teach you actually. But the time is so fast changing, and especially in our education sector, that we see that ever-changing atmosphere of the changes has been instituted in the academic atmosphere. And that's why it becomes very, very prudent for all of us. Rather, it is highly imperative for all of us to remain fully updated, fully current, and fully abreast. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for us to remain contextually relevant to our noble teaching profession. We must take pride in belonging to this profession because it is noble, gentlemanly, and caring. And we are the persons, as a teacher, we are taking the cognitive cause of the society, which is the greatest cause, you know. If you take a glance, friends, on the education scenario of the country, you get a very horrendous experience. You know, even at the very bottom of the pyramid, school level, you see recently we have the annual survey of education report ASER 2018. And this has shown that our productivity in the sector has gone down by more than 18% between 2008 and 2018. We have been facing a major learning crisis. Most of our population is functionally illiterate, and we are still far from being an educated nation. Although the application of technology has been started in a big way, but on account of our education system itself being quite dysfunctional, that technology is not picking up in the full acceleration. Friends, coming to the higher education level, the higher education to which we particularly belong, here again we see a very lingering turmoil. The lackluster quality of the education has become well known to all the countrymen. We don't have any dearth of the educational institutions. You might be knowing that we already have about 23 IITs, 20 IIMs, 31 NITs, 49 central universities, about 800 universities, and more than 38,000 colleges. But with this pool of institutions, we are still far away from getting the ranking accolades. Even in the current Times Higher Education World University ranking, we did not get even a single rank in the bracket of 1 to 300. Last time, our single IISc was staying under 251 to 300 bracket. This time it has been further shelved beyond 300. So this is the situation. It means that we have not been able to value the importance of quality in our education so far. We are yet to honor it. We are yet to recognize the value of the quality in our education sector. And in that context, the FDP of today carries very high importance, very high significance it has got. You know, this time, the accreditation, which is a part and parcel of the general quality drive, we have already come across it during the first cycle of the NAAC accreditation of our institution also. So now today, for any teacher, any faculty associated with any of the higher educational institution, it is highly imperative to know the pros and cons of the process of accreditation. Basically, when you talk on the general parlance, this accreditation is nothing but a process wherein certification of competency, or authority, or credibility is presented by an independent entity, especially to an educational institution that maintains suitable standards towards quality initiatives, quality sustenance, and quality enhancement. It provides a continued opportunity to a higher education institution for making a comprehensive introspection on all the various important verticals which are related to the quality. Friends, this accreditation actually makes quality the defining element of higher education through a combination of internal and external quality evaluation, promotion, and sustenance of initiatives. The major outcomes of the accreditation, or what you can say the core values of the accreditation, they may be reflected in students imbibing global competencies and a value system, providing a better compatibility in the use of technology, creating an ambience for stakeholders, and a quest for excellence, and making a meaningful contributions towards the national development. Friend, the time has come when we shall have to honor the importance of quality in education towards its contribution in the nation building. And now there is no way out than to know the various parameters, the various A to Z issues under the various accreditation process, so that we could be in a position to carry out the process of accreditation, whether it is NAAC or NBA, in a more desirable framework. So far as the revised framework of NAAC assessment and accreditation is concerned, slight changes have been made, especially from the qualitative peer judgment. A shift has been made to data-based quantitative indicator evaluation. At the same time, system-generated scores have been introduced with combination of online evaluation ranging to about 70% and peer judgment about 30%. And for the first time, we have also introduced the element of third-party validation of data. So friend, it is very important and a kind of indispensable for all the faculty members today working in the higher education institutions. I'm sure that this program would prove to be a very important investment in you, and you will be a thorough gainer out of your interaction with the various resource persons, especially persons like Dr. Pratibha Singh. I once again, with a very grateful sense, extend a tempestuous welcome to Madam and wish this first online FDP of SMS Varanasi a grand success and meaningful. Thank you.
Amitabh sir.
I think we have lost the connection with Anamika ma'am. So I shall continue now.
Yeah.
So moving ahead, In fact, I was supposed to present the theme of the FDP. So first of all, good afternoon to everyone, and Professor P.N. Jha, the Director of Institute, Dr. Pratibha Singh, Deputy Advisor, NAC, New Delhi, Professor Pratosh Bansal from Institute of Engineering and Technology, Devi Ahilyabai Vishwavidyalaya, Indore, who has joined us today also. The Registrar of the Institute, Mr. Sanjay Gupta, our Executive Secretary, Dr. M.P. Singh, who is likely to join us, and the other faculty colleagues, the participants of the 7 days faculty development program on quality assurance in higher education, revised NAC framework. So I extend a heartfelt welcome, warm welcome to all of you. You have joined this faculty development program. We are thankful to you. And sir has very rightly set the tone of this FDP in his welcome speech. Now to take it further, I'll begin with sharing some of the informations regarding the participants who have joined us in this faculty development program. So if I talk about the profile of the participants, we have received registrations from 144 participants, and these participants, they include the principals, heads of the institution, the coordinators of IQAC, the members of IQAC, faculty members, and there are other persons belonging to other category, which basically is they are from administration. And if I talk about the type of institutions to which these members, participants belong to, they come from universities, they come from autonomous institutions, and they also come from affiliated institutions. And if I talk about the accreditation status of their institution, their respective institutions, so many of them are from accredited institutions, and some of them are about to apply for accreditation and they are yet not accredited. And furthermore, if I talk about the percentage of people who belong to different categories, we have mostly the participants belong to faculty members. Almost 10% of them, they belong to the, they are the coordinators of IQAC, 10% are the member of IQAC, and around 5% people participate in those institutes. Now, about cycle in which are, so as I have told you, there are many who are yet to apply for accreditation. They are not yet accredited. Some of them completed the first cycle, some of them are in the first cycle, some in second, and we have participants who are at the third and fourth cycle also. And if I talk about the geographical distribution of participants, then I'm very happy to share that we have got the participation from the entire country. The participants, they come from northern state, northern part of the country, western part of the country, eastern part of the country, southern part of the country, as well as the central part of the country. Now, what is all these people, 144 people, they have decided to join a faculty development program, that too online during this lockdown period, which will keep us together for next 7 days. So that common thread is National Assessment and Accreditation Council, NAC. So what is this NAC? Sir was talking about the quality issues. In the 90s, we saw the influx of institutions in different categories in the higher education sector. And with this influx, we found that the quality issues became the concern. The institutions, although we have no dearth of institution right now, but if we talk about the quality, yes, there is a concern about the quality. So to address that concern as an autonomous body which was funded by University Grant Commission Government of India is at Bangalore. And what does this NAC or National Assessment Council, Assessment and Accreditation Council do? They are given the responsibility of assessing and accrediting higher education institutions in India and to address the concern of quality in higher education. Now, what is this accreditation we are talking about? This accreditation refers to the certification, or it is a kind of a stamping, a kind of branding, which distinguish one institution from other. And this accreditation is accorded, is given for 5 years. It accredited in the different grades in which they are accredited. A grade, A double plus, A, which these accredited institutions are placed. So that speaks about their level of quality. And also, as of now, this accreditation process is a voluntary process. So if you want yourself to be put in that grade or bracket of the accredited institutions, then you should apply for it. It is voluntary. But it has been proposed in the new draft of the new education policy that it will be made mandatory. So from voluntary, we are moving to the mandatory accreditation. And now in 2017, July 2017, NAC has come up with revised assessment and accreditation framework. Now they have made different, more ICT enabled, more objective, more transparent, more scalable, and more robust. They have made it more, the entire accreditation process if we look at the different is accepted, the institutions then prepare the self-study report, which is nothing but the data, the qualitative and quantitative data with regard to the different department, different entities, different units, and different functions of the organization, different stakeholders of the organization, of the educational institution. Then this data, which has been submitted to the NAC, it is validated and verified by a third party. As Sir has said, this change has been made in the revised framework. And they have also included a new element of student satisfaction survey in the revised framework. And post this, after you secure 30%, which is exclusive of the student satisfaction survey, then the institution moves to the next step of the accreditation process, that is on-site assessment by the peer team. And after that, after they have assessed, they come up, they generate the results. So this is the different stages of the process, accreditation process. All these will be dealt in much more detail in the subsequent sessions. And this accreditation, whole assessment and accreditation, is based on certain criteria or parameters. And those include, there are 7 main areas on which institutions are and accredited. Based on that, they are accredited. So those criteria include curricular aspect, teaching, learning and evaluation, research, innovation and extension, learning resources, leadership, best practices. These are the 7 criteria on the basis of which the assessment is done. Now, why we have organized this 7 days online faculty development program on quality assurance in higher education institutions based on NAC framework. What is the objective? So the objective is, first of all, to sensitize the participants. As I've told you, we are moving from voluntary to mandatory. So it is going to be mandatory for everyone. It is imperative everyone has to go for the NAC. All the higher education institutions have to go for NAC. And also, we all wish to be part of the branded institutions which are graded in superior grades. So we all look forward to become accredited and to be in a quality bracket. So this depends about the need and urgency of this kind of effort by the institutions, those who are yet not who have not yet gone for the accreditation process. So for them, it is to sensitize that now there is urgency to go for the accreditation process. And also the objective is to create awareness about of the benefits of accreditation. What benefit it brings to you when you are accredited, and when you are accredited with higher echelons, when you are in the bracket of A plus, A double plus, what benefit, or B plus, what benefits it brings to you. So creating awareness about the importance and the benefits of the accreditation, and also to impart practical training and to promote peer learning. As sir was telling that we have successfully completed the first cycle and we got the A grade in the very first cycle. So and we have the eminent resource persons who have been part of the peer group, and they have a very rich experience of dealing with the issues related to accreditation and assessment. So with the help of these eminent speakers and resource persons, we would like to arrange for this practical training.
अमिताभ सर, अनामिका मैम,
हेलो।
ठीक है सर।
हाँ हाँ, अमिताभ सर डिस्कनेक्ट हो गए हैं।
प्लीज टेक ओवर। आ गए अमिताभ सर आ गए। अमिताभ सर।
Yes. I'm sorry for the disturbance. Give me a second. Sorry for the inconvenience. We'll start from where we left. So I was talking about the objectives of the this faculty development program. So it is to promote the peer learning, and also the objective is to provide for networking and hand-holding. This relationship, which has started today, is not going to end at the last day. We will keep hand-holding each other, helping each other, and this will also provide us a networking with 144 members. We will emerge more stronger, and this is definitely going to help us in sailing through the accreditation process and assessment process. So these were the objectives with which we have conceptualized this faculty development program, and we have launched this faculty development program. And we are very thankful that we have got this tremendous response within a very short time from the participants. Now, if I talk about the program schedule, what we are going to do in the next 7 days. So today we are in the inaugural session, and after who is the Deputy Advisor, NAC, New Delhi, accreditation framework, process and preparedness, and which will be dealt by Dr. Pallavi Pathak, Associate Professor, and who is also the IQAC Coordinator and FDP Convener of this 7 days online FDP program. On the second day, Dr. Pallavi Pathak will again continue the second part of the RAF Revised Accreditation Framework, Process and Preparedness. And after that, we will be having Dr. Bhagwan Jagwani, Director, Allen House Group of Colleges, Kanpur, who will engage the participants on the criteria 1, which is about curricular aspects. And then on the third day, we will be having with us Professor Mahendra Sirsat, who is the Director, RUSA, CAST and DDU Kaushal Kendra, Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar, Marathwada University, Aurangabad. So he will be engaging the participants on criteria 2, which is about teaching, learning and evaluation. Then on the fourth day, we will be covering the 2 criteria, criteria 3 and criteria 4 by Professor Pratosh Bansal, Institute of Engineering and Technology, Devi Ahilya University, Indore. And criteria 4 will be dealt by my colleague, Mr. Ram Gopal Gupta, Associate Professor, School of Management Sciences, Varanasi, and he will be engaging the participants on criteria 4, which is about infrastructure and learning resources. Then on the 5th day, I myself will be dealing with the criteria 5, which is about student support and practices. And we will be having a final doubt clearing session in which Professor Pratosh Bansal will be dealing the different questions or confusions or any doubt clearing will be done by him with regard and these doubts can be from any criteria. All these 7 criteria will be covered in that session. And at the end, there will be a valedictory session. And I would also like to add here that in each session, we will also be having a question and answer session in which the participants will be allowed to write their questions or doubts in the chat box, and those questions will be taken up and the expert, the resource persons of the day will answer those questions and the doubts of participants. This was what we are planning for the next 7 days and how we will go about it. And I wish happy learning to everyone. And with this, I thank you all for giving me this opportunity. Thank you. Over to you, Anamika.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for chalking out the theme and schedule of the FDP for the participants. Dear participants, we feel honored to have with us our chief guest for the session, Dr. Pratibha Singh, NAC Deputy Advisor, New Delhi. Dr. Pratibha Singh is an engineer by training. She has done PhD in the area of pattern recognition and image processing. She taught in Institute of Engineering and Technology, DAVV University, and is having a teaching and research experience of 15 years. She has guided researches and published more than 35 articles in journals and conference proceedings. She published 2 books and 3 book chapters in edited volumes. She also has represented in various committees of universities such as BOS, examinations, flying escort, admission and evaluation. Dr. Singh joined NAC in the year 2017. After joining NAC, She has been a member of various internal committees such as CWG, DVV, ICT, etc. She was deputed to coordinate the activity of newly opened NAC office at Delhi and in charge since 2018. She is also an honored member of Soft Computing Society, an Indian unit of pattern recognition. She is also a member of Core Working Group for ITI grading and NCTE for developing Proforma for assessment and grading. Ma'am, we are indeed honored to have with us. I would humbly request you to please address us with all your expert and accomplished lessons. Please, ma'am, over to you.
Thank you. Am I audible to you? Is the voice reaching properly? Hello?
Yeah, ma'am. Your voice is coming.
Okay. Very good afternoon to one and all present here. Respected Professor P.N. Jhasa, the Director, Institute of Management Studies, Registrar, respected academicians, faculty members, all the staff members of the School of Management Studies, my dear friends. I am very glad to participate in this faculty development program organized by IMS and specifically encouraged to see the theme which was chosen to organize this faculty development program. This theme is very relevant today because everybody, all of us are looking towards the launching of new education policy and what are the changes which are going to take place in the higher education sectors and how it is relevant for us to link it with various policies to what we are doing, to where we should need to have more work to do. And all those things we need to definitely see in this particular present scenario for higher education. Revised accreditation framework, because I belong to NAC, I will be first emphasizing the initiatives of NAC which NAC has taken up, and then we will talk about what is the role of an IQAC coordinator, and then I would be discussing the role of faculty members and the principals and the head of the institutions, which NAC is expecting to be accomplished by you. So I would like to mention first the aspect of diversity. As you all know that the Indian higher education system is very diverse in nature. Today we have 993 universities, and out of these 993 universities, around 385 universities are running in private sector. Also, the number of colleges which are lying in rural areas belong to, will cover around 60%. 60% of the colleges belong to rural area. And there are various categories of universities also. So universities are categorized in different kinds of the management basis and what kind of the subjects they are having, what kind of profile they are having, how the universities are established. So all those things matter a lot, and we as an accreditation agency look to their profile and how their origin, how the practices offered under these institutions are relevant for a quality assurance agencies, and how our framework can address those aspects also we are looking at. So in this process, we continuously I'm getting some comments about the quality of the audio. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You're audible. You're audible.
Okay. So in this particular aspect, I would like to mention that around, if we look back to our higher education system in India, you will be surprised to know that around 16% of the colleges are having an enrollment of less than 16%. Around 64% of the colleges in India are having the enrollment less than 500, and only 4% colleges are those which are having around 3,000 plus enrollment in their institutions. So also new education policy where it emphasizes on the establishment of purely teaching universities, the universities which are dealing with purely research, and the transformation of all the colleges which are affiliated in nature to an autonomous colleges. So under such circumstances, the importance of quality matters a lot, and how this is quality being addressed and how we will be more relevant in coming days. Everybody has a responsibility to look into those aspects. So, as Sir also informed you that NAC is an autonomous body under University Grants Commission. It was established in 1994 with the objective for assessment and accreditation for higher education institutions in India, and how it is different from the other accreditation bodies such as National Board of Accreditation. So I would like to mention here that NAC undertakes the assessment and accreditation of institution as a whole, so that our unit of assessment and accreditation is an institution, whereas the NBA does the program accreditation, and generally it does the accreditation for professional programs. So professional programs accreditation will be done by NBA. And other quality assurance mechanisms are also in place, such as the participation in National Institution Ranking Framework. So how this framework of NAC is different from NIRF also needs to be understood. And in that aspect, I would like to mention that NAC is basically assessment and accreditation body. It sets up the parameter, it sets up the framework, and while setting up the framework, it takes the feedback from all the kinds of stakeholders, which includes the principals of the colleges, the professors of the universities, and the vice chancellors from the universities, the statutory regulatory authority body representatives, and various other government representations are there while framing the policies of NAC, while making the framework for NAC. So under this particular initiative, which was recently a revised accreditation framework launched in 2017, we have taken the consultation at various levels. So we have taken the consultation at regional level, we have taken the consultation at the national level also, and after having a large consultation from these all stakeholders, we have launched this framework of revised accreditation framework. And as the objective of launching this framework was to make the entire process more objective, more robust, and in that particular initiative, we have launched the 70-30 ratio of quantitative and qualitative aspects. So quantitative information is 70%, and the remaining 30% aspect is measuring the qualitative aspect. So initially, when we were having this particular agenda in mind, there was a lot of pressure on us that how you can measure the quality of an institution in terms of numbers. So much thought process has gone on our back end, and we have thought what are the kinds of questions which can be put on into which can be converted into quantity, so that the institution should not feel like that this cannot be measured in terms of quantity. So those things we have kept in mind, and this process is always a continuous process. Always we invite the feedback from various kinds of stakeholders, and we encourage the kinds of feedback. We encourage the writing to NAC in case of any difficulty. If you are facing at institutional level, if you are facing at regional level, you will always write to NAC so that it can be taken up into at the time of next revision. So how the diversity is addressed. So it's a basic challenge in front of us. Revised accreditation framework has to cater the needs of all these stakeholders, and it is the only framework which caters the entire higher education systems, which includes 993 universities, which includes around 39,931 colleges, and which includes around 10,000 standalone institutions. So who can apply for NAC? what are the profile requirements of for application to NAC? So you may be knowing that the process of assessment and accreditation has been made mandatory by UGC. It has come into regulation 2013. That NAC's process and the NAC's assessment and accreditation is mandatory for all higher education institutions in India except technical education. So except technical education, all the institutions are supposed to come for assessment and accreditation. But then there are questions, what is the benefit for a private institution to come for assessment? So first of all, we must understand what are the benefits of assessment and accreditation for institutions. So benefit of assessment and accreditation, you all know, there are various schemes of government. There are various schemes of the UGC in which the NAC grading is linked with various kinds of eligibility requirements. For example, NAC grading is linked with the graded autonomy for the universities. NAC grading is linked with the offering of the online education by the universities. NAC grading is linked with the granting of autonomous status to the colleges. If an affiliated college want to convert into the autonomous colleges, they should be having a NAC. Also, the funding related scheme, the granting of College of Center for Excellence, CPE, all those things are based on NAC. So linking of NAC grade is always there and is encouraged by various government schemes also. And recently we have come across various initiatives of MHRD also, in which NAC grading is has been given due importance. For example, the scholarship which the students are getting, subsidy on the scholarship, they are taking the NAC accreditation as a requirement for the students also, for giving subsidy to students while applying for education loans. So these are the kinds of things in which the enough importance is given to NAC grading. So even if it is the institutions are running under self-finance mode, they are running under the private management practices, but then also accreditation has been seen as a quality benchmark, and it has been given enough emphasis for all of us to work towards the quality. Not only that, we ourselves will be getting benefited if we are belonging to an institution which is having accreditation by NAC. So with this, this is enough for me to talk about NAC, and I hope in the various coming days you will be more enlightened with the various kinds of criteria, indicators, and the various kinds of the parameters of NAC benchmarks and the requirements. And for the faculty members, I would say you can look into the framework. If you are belonging to the IQAC cell of your own institution, look towards what NAC is offering for you. For example, for the faculty members, NAC always promote the establishment of IQAC cell. So you should be having an IQAC active cell. What is the composition of IQAC cell, and what are the kinds of activities which can be undertaken with the help of your IQAC cell in the institution? Those things are available in the form of IQAC guidelines. The framework is already in place, which was which was launched in 2017, and the recent revision on the framework, where the number of questions are reduced, has taken place in the year 2020. So 1st January, there is a little minor changes have happened in the framework. Some questions are reduced. We have tried to reduce the redundancy. So new manual has come up in the website. You look into the manuals, and whatever scheme you are belonging to, scheme means you may be belonging to university, you may be belonging to autonomous college, you may be belonging to affiliated colleges. That too, in affiliated, we have different categories. For example, you may be belonging to teacher education institution, health science institutions. For all these kinds of different kinds of profiles of the institution, we have a separate manual. And the selection of this particular manual happens at the time of application of IAQ. So while you are applying for IAQ, the scheme will be chosen by the institution, and accordingly the set of the questions offered to different institutions will be different. And then you can see your role as a teacher, as a faculty member. What is your role? You should give the data to the IQAC cells. So mainly IQAC cells are active in collecting data, monitoring the academic and administrative quality aspects. They will be able, they should be able to identify the kinds of strength, weakness, opportunity, and challenges, and accordingly they should work towards the allocation of the resources and the kind of the feedback which can be given up to the higher authority in order to work towards the quality of the entire institution. So those are the things, and the faculty member should support the IQAC cell in timely providing the data, and also the faculty member should themselves maintain the data. For example, as a faculty member, it is expected that you should be having your database of your own publications, the kind of publication you're having with ISSN number, with the kind of the journal, with the kind of H-index, with the kind of the indexing services which the journal is having. So all those details we are expecting that faculty members should be aware of, and it should be, the faculty member should be able to give the data timely to the IQAC coordinator so that it can be useful for the upliftment of the entire institution in terms of giving the quality related parameters to the NAAC. Today, as we all are facing various challenges in our own kinds of profession, for example, teaching has suffered a lot, and we were not being able to meet out the face-to-face learning environment. So we have devised a mechanism of online teaching. So one more request I would make through this platform for the faculty members to explore the all possibilities of online teaching. For the kinds of platforms which we are having, the kinds of skills which are required for a faculty member to gear up with this online environment, because the day will be coming, the day will be there where these online environment faculty development programs also will be rated, and which can be considered for the assessment and accreditation also, which can be considered in the form of regulation by UGC also. So all those things are going to happen in the coming days, because these are the alternative mechanism. Already UGC has been thinking of having this online credit value, credit proportion raised from 20% to 40%. So with this changing environment, we should also change our mindset, and I will see the role of a teacher as transforming from a general role of a teacher to a facilitator. So we should be quickly adopting to the recent changes, and also acquire the whatever the real skills required for these things, because our students are more smarter than, this is the reality, our students are more smarter in terms of ICT facilities. So teachers should also, although they are having a lot of subject knowledge, but if they are unable to express that knowledge in the terms of recent technology initiatives, it could be of no use. So this would be the request from faculty members, and this is all from my side. I wish all the best to all the participants present here, and wish the success of this faculty development program, and hope this program will be fruitful for all of you, and you will be able to share more of your practices and discuss more about the quality, which has become a buzzword in this particular quality initiatives. So thank you very much, and thank you. Over to you, Pallavi ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am, for taking out your valuable time for enlightening all of us. Certainly, your address goes a long way in inspiring us to strive hard for better quality and better results. Thank you once again. Okay, dear participants, although the technical criteria, before we begin tomorrow, we have FDP convener and IQAC. Dr. Pallavi Pathak is into management teaching and research for more than a decade, after a brief stint of 6 years corporate experience, having done PhD from been a scholarship holder from Rajasthan State Board, Ministry of HRD. She has authored a book titled Organizational Effectiveness in Centers of Higher Learning and has edited another book, Spirituality Beyond Repertoire, Leadership and Happiness Perspectives. She has to her credit many book chapters as well as papers published in journals of repute. Dr. Pathak has also been conferred with Teacher with Higher Potential Award. She has to her credit organization of international and national conferences, faculty development programs, and workshops. She engages students on different aspects of human resource management, HRD, industry relations, labor laws, compensation management, leadership and personal development, and organizational behavior. She has many administrative responsibilities like coordinator, internal quality assurance cell, NAC, and AIU cell, managing editor of Management Insight, which is a biannual peer-reviewed journal, coordinator of SPARK, the Performing Arts Club, Behavioral Dynamics Lab, Counseling Cell, Anti-Sexual Harassment Committee, and Foreign Language Cell. She has had been invited as resource person at different forums, like at MCIIE, IIT Varanasi, MSME Development Institute, Allahabad, under Ministry of MSME, Government of India. She has been a keynote speaker at Penele Research Institute and LJB at Surabaya, East Java, Indonesia, Department of Psychology, BHU, and many more. Now,
Pallavi ma'am, please unmute yourself. Yeah.
आप स्टार्ट करिए पल्लवी में, आप सही.
Thank you for this elaborate introduction, Anamika. Good evening, everyone. Foremost, I extend heartiest gratefulness to Dr. Pratibha Singh, Deputy Advisor NAC, New Delhi, who, despite having real busy schedules, spared time for us. She had 2 webinars back to back, and still she found out time for us. Thank you so much, ma'am. Friends, as already informed earlier, tomorrow onwards, all the nitty-gritty of preparing data templates for AQR and SSR will be handled by an expert speaker. But before that, it becomes necessary to understand many relevant aspects and terms. In this regard, I'm going to take 2 sessions, one today, another tomorrow, on revised accreditation framework, processes, and preparedness. And of course, we will begin with the preparedness. New NAC accreditation framework. Anamika, can you start my slides?
Ma'am, there's been one problem here. Can you just wait either, or can you start from your end?
Okay, let me try if I can present from here. I hope it is visible now.
No, it's not visible.
It
The
is
slides
visible?
are not visible. No, we can't see the slides.
Okay, just give me a second. Now?
No,
No?
no.
It's not visible.
Is it visible now?
Yes, it is coming. It is coming.
My slide or
Yes, yes, yes. Your screen is visible now. You have to adjust these slides.
yes. Now it is okay, I believe.
Yeah, yeah, better.
Do I need to realign or it is okay now?
It is working. No
It
problem.
is working? Okay.
Yeah.
Institution to internalize excellence rather than just showcasing it. NAC stresses on making quality assurance an integral part of functioning of higher education institutions. The mission statement of NAC aim at translating the NAC's vision into reality, defining these key tasks of organization. Tasks like to arrange for periodic assessment and accreditation of institutions of higher education or units thereof, to stimulate academic environment for promotion of quality of teaching, learning, and research, to encourage self-evaluation, accountability, autonomy, and innovation, to undertake quality-related research studies, consultancy and training program, and to collaborate with other stakeholders of higher education for quality evaluation, promotion, and sustenance. So we can see that guided by its vision and striving to achieve its mission, the NAC primarily assesses the quality of institutions of higher education that volunteer, or now it is, as ma'am said, now it is mandatory for the process, that apply for the process and internationally, and this methodology is internationally accepted. And the quality movement in Indian higher education resulted in particularly the efforts of UGC in setting up this. Setting up the first century knowledge-based society, the concept of quality assurance in higher education has gained significant momentum. Today, higher educational institutions are called upon everywhere to guarantee with confidence and certainty that the standards and quality of its educational provision are being maintained as well as enhanced regularly. To meet these requirements, quality assurance agencies like NAC, NBA have been set up in India to assess institution their quality. Can I have next slide? Next slide, and I'm not able to share screen. Anamika is sharing the screen. Okay. The previous one. previous slide, previous, more, previous, back. Back, forward. Yes, thank you. Now, as I said, these agencies have been set up for maintaining the quality in higher education institution. Next. Next. Next, please. Yeah. Now, I would like to specially mention that earlier, back, previous, and please. Should I do it on my part? Next. Responsiveness. Next, yes. The NAAC criteria and methodology used to be very rigid, and it used to be one size fits all. So much so that once research institute had the criteria and methodology for assessing varied kinds of higher institute. That is how you can see all of us, most of us have been have witnessed academicians representing the university.
Palivem, you got to unmute yourself. Hello.
Nahi hua. This is okay. I think I will use my other device. And do not allow this video or audio. I'm using another device. Timothy. Okay, so I was talking about the feedback. In addition to NAAC also seeks feedback through the web, through various stakeholders, even through the academia during assessors interaction meet. The entire revision exercise has successfully resulted in the development of an assessment and accreditation enabled and user-friendly. I'm talking about technology enabled, and we are facing so much of problem. Higher education institutions desirous of seeking accreditation from now on will need to understand the changes made in the process. Keeping this in mind, the manuals have been devised separately for universities, autonomous colleges, and affiliate constituent colleges. And I would like to inform all the participants that if they do not have this manual, we'll be providing this manual, and they can use the relevant information for whichever is relevant for them. The self-study report forms the backbone of the entire process of accreditation. Special effort has been made to differentiate some of the items to render more applicable to different categories. Next. Yeah. Quality in higher education, which is the theme of our FDP. Quality in higher education is a key priority. This must be achieved keeping in mind the issues of relevance, cost, equity, and international standards. The idea of quality is not new, nor that of quality assurance. Neither, for that matter, are concerns for quality. But like ma'am was saying, how difficult it is to quantify the quality. So quality has few central ideas around which the whole concept revolves. Quality as absolute, relative, quality as a process, quality as a culture. And it is not just because of the UGC directive that you should think about quality. Rather, quality should be a bottom-up approach, and everyone should be conscious of why we should worry about quality of our teaching programs and institutions. Next. Quality assurance. The UGC has enlisted all the major initiatives taken by UGC for quality improvement in higher education. By UGC for quality improvement, like learning outcome. Now we can see all these newer terms, relatively newer terms in all the criteria of our AQR and SSR. Learning outcomes based curriculum, student induction program, faculty induction program, SWAYAM program. So the quality has become non-negotiable now. We cannot compromise it. And teachers play a significant role in achieving this quality education. And here I would like to, though we have not started discussing criteria, but I would like to specially mention that teachers have a significant role to play in especially criteria number 2, criteria number 3, 5, and 7. For others, institution is responsible more or less, but teachers have a very significant role to play in all these criteria. So NAAC has also taken quality initiatives time to time. It has been bringing out publications that provide insights into Indian example of quality assurance. I would like to request all the attendees to keep visiting this NAAC website for the updates. And every time you will visit this NAAC website, you will find something new. You will discover something new. You just go on exploring all those tabs, and there's an ocean of wisdom lying there. So please make use. So the promotion of idea of quality, also in its quality mandate, other publications like newsletter. So now let us see what is the role of higher education in society and why at all we are emphasizing upon enhancing the quality of higher education. Generally, we talk about 4 pillars of education in terms of learning to know, learning to do, learning to live together, and learning to be. While higher education intends to inculcate all these 4, few more specific functions of higher education are essential, which have been mentioned here, to prepare students for research and teaching, to provide highly specialized training courses adapted to the needs of economic and social life, to be open to all, access to all, so as to cater to many aspects of lifelong education in the widest sense, to promote international cooperation, internationalization of research, technology, and networking. Now let us see next, please. Yeah. In this figure, we will see how beautifully NAAC has imbibed in its core value of NAAC and how it has been translated in the SSR and AQR. NAAC has developed 5 core values: contributing to national development, fostering global competencies among students, inculcating a value system in students, promoting the use of technology, quest for excellence. Now, it is directly related to the 7 criteria developed by NAC. These core values form the basis of these 7 criteria developed by NAC to measure excellence in the are in fact the main process of developing the capabilities of an institution. Establishment of an IQAC in each of the higher education institution would help develop and raise their capabilities as institutions. The 7 criteria, as been mentioned by all my previous speakers, are curricular aspects, teaching, learning and evaluation, research, consultancy and extension, infrastructure and learning resources, student support and progression, governance, leadership and management, and finally, institutional values and best practices. One of the major outcomes of IQAC establishment would be internalization and institutionalization of quality, so that the institution strives to excel in serving students and all other stakeholders as well. The quest to become a quality institution is itself a core value that higher education institutions have to imbibe and demonstrate in its functioning. Next. Next, please. Next slide. Yeah. Indicative parameters of value framework. Now that most of you are almost at least a bit familiar with the NAC criteria, it will be easier for you to relate all the underpinnings of these parameters given in the right column with core values of NAC. Let us have a look one by one. See, the value related to contribution of national development is related to more access with equity, development of research areas, community engagement, global competencies, development of generic application and life skills. You see how much emphasis is given on adding life skill, value-based education, inculcating value system in our education, both in academic program, management practices, as well as co-curricular and extracurricular activities. Promotion of the use of technology, enrichment of learning, increasing access, increase in number of online programs offered by the institution. So promoting the, and finally the quest for excellence, development of benchmark of excellence, best practices application and institutionalization of continuous improvement program. You embrace quality, you try to maintain it, sustain it. Next. I think I'll skip next slide. Dimensions. The dimension I'll skip. So now we can see who is responsible for assessing this quality, how this quality can be maintained and assessed. Quality assurance is the responsibility of everyone in an education institution. Though the top management sets the policies and priorities, thus assuring quality can be continuous and ongoing process. It should not be considered as a one-time activity or for accreditation alone. As soon as it is over, you are back on your usual track. However, accreditation as an external quality monitoring, it has been emphasized by Harvey also that it is not only in India, world over it is being emphasized. We can see in the next slide. That all over the world, quality assurance is done in several ways, and most of us coincide with what we are following here. Self-evaluation, peer review by a panel of experts, usually include at least some external panel members and one of or more site visits. Analysis of information based on certain parameters for best practices, benchmarking, then survey of students, like we have in student satisfaction survey, graduates, employers, professional bodies, testing the knowledge, skills, and competency of students. Next. So these stages have already been mentioned. Tomorrow I'll take the stages in detail, so I'm skipping it for now. So now let us come closer to our topic. Let us see the difference between the assessment and accreditation, two main components of our heavy term NAC. Assessment is the process of gathering and discussing information from multiple and diverse sources in order to develop a deep understanding about one's status. And in accreditation, the act of granting credit or recognition, especially to an educational institution that maintains suitable standards. I hope it is clear to those who are applying for the first time. Few benefits I have enlisted here. Institutions benefit through self-actualization. When you do your own SWOT or SWOC analysis, then you come to know then it is the time to reflect on things you intended to do but you never did. Institutions benefit through self-actualization on strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities through informed review process. Helps institution identify the internal areas of planning and resource allocation. Collegiality or the cooperation or the teamwork which develops after you start preparing for all these reports on campus. Enables funding agency to look for objectives. So no, I have just included few of the benefit. There are n number of benefit. Next. Next. Yeah. Previous. Revised assessment and accreditation framework. As I would like to reiterate, it was launched in July 2017, and we have witnessed its previous version also, so we can actually differentiate between both the changes that have taken place. It represents an explicit paradigm shift, making it ICT enabled, objective, transparent, scalable, and robust. You must be seeing after a few days, after a few months, you always get some new notice from NAC that these changes have been made. So you have to keep in mind what changes are there, and you have to change your plan accordingly. The shifts are primarily related to the qualitative peer judgment to data-based quantitative indicator evaluation with increased objectivity and transparency. Towards extensive use of ICT confirming scalability and robustness. Now, uploading of SSR and AQR is solely through. There was a transition phase when we could submit our AQR in the Word format and it uploaded, but now it is compulsory for all of us to submit our SSR and AQRs in online format, and things have been simplified. In terms of simplification of process, drastic reduction in number of questions, size of report, peer team visit days have been decreased. In terms of boosting benchmarking, as quality improvement tools, there has been attempt through comparison of NAC indicators under international QA framework. So NAC is continuously doing its work very diligently and making all possible change for betterment of all the stakeholders. Introducing a pre-qualifier for peer team visit. Pre-qualifier, when an institution does not gets less than 1.5 in each criteria, then they do not qualify this pre-qualifier. Introducing system-generated scores, in which 70% is about online evaluation of quantitative and peer judgment qualitative, 30%. Introduction of element of third-party validation, which will be validating whatever data we have submitted online. And in providing appropriate differences in the metrics, weightages, and benchmarks to universities, autonomous colleges, and affiliated constituent colleges. Therefore, we have different manuals on the NAC website for universities, autonomous college, and affiliated. Especially the freshers should very carefully download those manuals which are relevant for them. Now, lately, we have seen that there's among these affiliated colleges also, we can see that there's a demarcation of UG and PG college. So even if the institution is running one PG course, it will be termed as a PG college. So likewise, the format should be used. Next. NAC continues with its focus on quality culture of the institution in terms of quality initiatives, quality sustenance, and quality enhancement, as reflected in the vision, organization, operations, and processes. Experience has reiterated that these can be ascertained either by on-site observations or through the facts and figures about various aspects of institutional functioning, which you present before NAC. And of course, the latter one is a more objective way. Next. I'll quickly take these slides on eligibility of assessment for assessment and accreditation by NAC for all the classification of education institution or higher education institution. If they have a record of at least 2 batches of students graduated or been in existence for 6 years, whichever is earlier, they are eligible to apply. Universities and their off campuses, if approved by MHRD or UGC, any unapproved off campuses will not be considered. Those institutions with regular students as full-time teaching and research programs, institution should be running within the country, as NAC will not undertake accreditation of the offshore campuses. Similar in autonomous colleges affiliated, they should be recognized as UGC by UGC for the purpose of affiliation, and in the latter category, it should be recognized by AIU or other such government agency. Next. Now, all these rules are applicable for all those HI also who are going for reassessment or even the subsequent cycles, cycle 2, cycle 3, cycle 4. So, or in any other type of HI, which is specially and it is at a discretion of NAC to allow. Next. Now, taking cognizance of the diversity in the kind of institution, it has been categorized in 3 types: universities, autonomous colleges, and affiliated. And the assessment process will be carried out in 3 stages: self-study, student satisfaction, and peer review. Now, next slide. Let us see, look at this table. The SSR has a total of 115 metrics for universities, 107 for autonomous, 93 and 96 for UG and PG affiliated respectively, covering the 7 criteria. As can be seen, the SSR has 2 kinds of metrics. One, those requiring quantifiable facts and figures as data which have been indicated as quantitative metrics, and 2, and the other one is qualitative metrics. This table signifies the distribution of key indicators and metrics across them. This table you'll find this table in the manual provided by NAC. Similarly, I have taken another table which I think will be is not much legible. Details of weightage given to various indicators and key indicators and criteria. Here, it is not that legible, but still I would like to mention that here I have taken all the 7 criteria, their key indicators, and what weightage is being given in different university autonomous colleges. For example, just take one, a curricular aspect. First one is curricular design and development, 50-50 for autonomous and university, but it is not applicable for colleges because they do not design course usually. So all these things will be dealt in detail with the respective resource persons. So I'll skip this. Next slide, please. Yes, lastly, the yellow bar you can see. In the end, you can see that 1000, the score is 1000 for each. It has been, if you look at this table properly, you can see that proper adjustment has been made in this table. Take into consideration that the total score remains 1000 for each of these categories. Next. Yes, a very important thing that HEIs are advised to check their portal and registered email ID frequently for updates throughout the process. Till the time you've applied, you should regularly visit your HEI login in this portal and see if any updates are there. If they ask for any kind of clarification. Next is reassessment. Reassessment is for those institutions who would like to make an improvement in the accredited status. They may volunteer for reassessment after complete at least 1 year, but not after completion of 3 years. Within 1 to 3, they can apply for reassessment, and it will be treated as a fresh assessment again. The option can be exercised only once in a cycle. Reassessed institution cannot come for another assessment in the same cycle. The current procedures and methodology, including the manual for assessment and accreditation, is applicable for all institutions applying for reassessment. So for assessment and reassessment, the manual will be same. But of course, those institutions which do not get good grades, they can of course go for reassessment after 1 year. The fee structure and other processes would be as per the current procedures of assessment and accreditation. And details are given in the manual on the website as well. Institutions that volunteer for reassessment will not be eligible for fee waiver and reimbursement of accreditation expenses. This is for reassessment. Next, the methodology for subsequent cycles of accreditation remains the same. However, due consideration, rather say more emphasis, would be given to the post-accreditation activities, resulting in quality improvement, quality sustainment, and quality enhancement, especially in the areas pointed out by the peer team during their last visit in the campus. Next, so the institutions intending to be assessed to continue the accreditation need to apply afresh by submission of AIMK application. Tomorrow I'll be dealing with the IAQ and filling all these. How do you fill these information? Where is how does the interface look like? The validity period of NAAC accreditation or third and fourth cycle will be extended from 5 to 7 years if the organization or the institution achieves A++ grade. A++ with CGPA 3.1 in the grading system is the highest grade one can have, starting from 3.51. Next. So now, what are the mandatory disclosure which you need to have on your institute's website? To ensure transparency in the process of assessment and accreditation, it is necessary to upload the SSR along with other relevant documents on the institutional website. Thus, it is suggested to create a separate NAAC tab or link on your college website or university website and upload these documents till the validity period of accreditation is over. Whatever has been asked in the SSR need to be present on the website. That website should be functional, links should be functional. SSR submitted online to be uploaded after DVV process. Data templates which are uploaded along with SSR, AQAR, year-wise if you are going for second subsequent cycle, accreditation outcome document, your certificate, your grade sheet, even the report of the peer team. The HEIs may suitably design their NAAC tag link to accommodate all relevant details or documents. We have often seen that universities and colleges appear to be struggling to provide this information required for the last 5 years, and it delays the accreditation process. Therefore, it is recommended to correct this. The techniques to maintain a continuous flow of data at institutional level should be in place. There is need to organize national level academic gatherings, seminars, symposium, conferences on a regular basis to secure a better grade. because just as it is a suggestion, there should be a proper maintenance of records and documents. As I say, documents, I mentioned the terms records and documents. Records are generated and the documents are reports are generated and documents can be maintained after also. Like if you go and you are taking the class, you take the attendance, you have the record of attendance in your attendance register, and if you are making the teaching plan for that class, the document remains with you, which you can change when you want for next semester also. And you cannot tamper those reports. So next. So there are 4 levels of documentation that needs to be done in all kind of organizations. As you can see, personal and individual, department, cell or committee, and the institution level. All these levels are expected to maintain these records at their level and produce as and when required. When I say personal and individual, what is the difference between these two categories? Personal, your personal documentation can be if you deliver a lecture in other college, if you're writing an article on your subject in newspaper, giving personal donation, writing a textbook, getting appointed by a local body, or any other activity that does not have any acceptable standard. These are your personal documentation. But among these personal documentation, there are several points or headers which can be saved for NAAC also. These include awards and recognitions at national and international level by an accepted body, members of board of studies or other university, same university as well as other university, your research papers, your books on national and international level. So each individual, each faculty member is required to maintain these personal documents to submit whenever asked for. Similarly, our individual documentation can be whatever you do in the college. The documentation activities by you for your students, committees, cells, or even your department or your college. These are very important, and the record has to be maintained by the individual teacher. Unfortunately, we often do not care to have this record, and which later on causes problem. And incorrect documentation is also very serious problem which needs to be taken care of. And whatever documentation you are maintaining, it should be factually correct. And on the level of cell or committee, you can be a member of more than one cell or committee. Whatever role you have playing in that cell or committee, you need to maintain the records. And of course, at the institution level. So IQAC should have cognizance of all these records being maintained at individual level, department level or cell level. But all these levels of documentation should be maintained with an individual, with the department, with the cell or committee itself, and should be produced when asked for. Next. I have taken an example of how you can maintain the record of the activities going on in the organization. Here I have shared a requisition form which can be made which is used before the activity is going to take place. You can have this requisition form, date of the proposed event, title, for which class this event will be organized, what will be the venue. You have several venues in your college. Has the banner been approved? The main aim of having this banner approved is that at a central place we have all the relevant information and event organized by who's the person, an individual or a coordinator who's organizing this. So we have all these information at proper place. And there also it can be mentioned that on completion of event, kindly submit following at office within a day: event attendance, workshop, seminar feedback forms, soft copy of summary including event title, name of resource persons, class attended, how much male and female students, highlights of the program, or the or even 4 or 5 photographs, which now has been made essential to be geotagged by NAC. So before event, you can have this kind of form so that all these forms are collected at a common place, and you have the information or the requisite information you can have. And even post this event, you can have this kind of activity report, name of the activity, date of the activity, type of the activity, whether it was an indoor or outdoor activity, whether it was a guest lecture, a workshop or something like that, who was coordinator, and who other faculty members or other staff members were there present to support this event. Who were the attendees? What was the methodology? What are the outcomes of this event that you had organized? And evidence. This evidence can be the photographs of the event, the attendance sheet of the event, the certificates you had provided. So this way you can easily document whatever events are taking place in your organization. Next. I think I've already exceeded time, but should I continue or what? Classification of institutions. This is very interesting. I would like to draw your attention on this figure. Here we have divided it in 4 quadrants, S1, S2, S3, S4, based on the type of the nature of accreditation of institution. The quadrant first shows the institutions which are unable and unwilling to perform the task and lack confidence. Motivation. So motivation and commitment can be done for accreditation work. Quadrant second shows the institutions which are unable but willing to undergo through this accreditation process and require some guidance. Quadrant 3 shows the institutions which are able but are unwilling to undergo through the accreditation process, possibly because of insecurity. What if they won't get the same grade as they got last time? And the quadrant 4 shows the institutions which are willing and able to accomplish the accreditation task with confidence. The real challenge that we're facing today, and for which the work we have specially gathered, is to drive all those institutions with sufficient appropriate blend of guidance and direction. In course of time, they can be pushed. The problem is not that they are incapable, they are primarily unwilling to shed their inertia and take initiatives to move forward. For them, proper administrative instructions, directing them and meet the target within a time frame is needed. Secondly, those colleges who move to the second quadrant by making a bold headway towards assessment and accreditation, by getting themselves registered for submission of IAQA, they require proper inducement to keep upscaling their ability further and maintaining their tempo. In quadrant 3, they are able but unwilling. Perhaps because of sense of insecurity, they are feeling insecure, either because they are not confident of getting a good score or grade, or conscious of losing their previous grade. In their cases, mere lecture by experts would not work well. In order to break down their inhibition, and do you have any message for me? And lastly, quadrant 4 can play the role of a local leader, motivating and supporting and solving the problems of those falling under quadrant 3. Next slide. So in order to, one few of the important tips for accreditation readiness include IAKC Institute Constitution as per NAC guidelines. For those who have formed IQAC, but it is not as per NAC guidelines, kindly go through these guidelines and reconstitute it. There should be regular meeting, meeting should take place, IQAC meeting should be held regularly, and the minutes of the meeting should be maintained, and well thought quality initiatives should be taken care of by IQAC. This I would like to emphasize. There are 4 types of employees in the organization. First one are star, second alien, conformist and passive. Star are which are easily motivated and they are ready to take on any kind of challenges. Their effective members are enthusiastic, intelligent, and self-reliant in their pursuit of institutional goals. They dedicate themselves to increasing their job competence in order to maximize the impact of the institution. Then there are alienated members, which often began as a star, but due to some negative experience, has caused them to become angry and withdrawn. Rather than assisting with improvement of organization, these aliens follower often tears down what leaders or other members are trying to build or achieve. Passive member, they remain indifferent towards any move made at the institution level. And conformist member, such people are dependent on their leaders for direction and often tell them only what they want to hear, but not crucial information that they need to know. The last three categories of staff members, staff and faculty members, are wasted resources of an institution. They not only fail to perform, but often try to erode the ability of the leader to transform the institution. Therefore, in order to prepare an institution voluntarily ready for accreditation, therefore requires transformation of last three categories of these employees into star members, and it can be done easily if the institution takes initiative, takes steps to convert all these categories into the star performance. Next, I would quickly like to take recent initiative taken by NAAC. Now, a dedicated help desk has been established for all assessment and accreditation related queries, and I can vouch for that. They have helpful people out there. If there is any problem, I'm telling to all the attendees, whether going for the first cycle of NAAC or any other, don't hesitate to seek help from the NAAC help desk. They will help you out. They will share your screen and they will tell you what wrong steps you were taking and how to correct it. Also, for grievance redressal, a centralized complaint management committee has been formed. New concepts like learning outcomes, institutional social responsibility, environmental consciousness, all these terms have also been included. ICT integration, I think it has been emphasized by all my previous speakers. So now quickly. Now here I have enlisted few points that are really essential for all organizations desirous of fresh accreditation, reassessment, or even going for second, third, fourth cycles of NAAC accreditation. Opening an IT cell in every educational institution and trying to generate institutional data in soft form. With a view to meet the regular requirement of NAAC, you need to have dedicated cell. Every event organized at the institution level must be properly documented. To sensitize students to NAAC in view of the introduction of the student satisfaction survey, which again forms an important part, as an important component of the revised accreditation framework. To keep all the facilities that you have fully functional and clean, whatever you are mentioning on the website should actually be available, should actually be working, and you'd have proper proof for that. Next, must-haves. To perform better in A&A, two basic requirements. These are the fundamental requirements: a functional website and a functional IQAC. To make IQAC fully functional, NAAC has given full liberty to the head of institution to induct dynamic and creative persons in it. To make it operational, it is responsibility of the head of institution to provide it with a well-equipped office, timely financial support, data management support. And now it is also necessary to go for All India Survey for Higher Education, because this ID you will need for your HEI login. And it is all NAAC, for AISHE, you will need this ID. So it is better to go for AISHE also. Next. Availability of accreditation related information should be in public domain. It should be accessible to all accreditation related data, processes, assessment, decisions and rationale must be transparently available to the public online and in any other form with easy access. The objective is to have the highest degree of probity by ensuring complete transparency. Just role of IQAC, I think I'll quickly go through the slides, last two slides. NAAC proposes that every accredited institution should establish IQAC to continuously improve quality as enhancement and sustain the good work of institution. IQAC facilitate internalization of quality and play a catalytic role in the performance improvement of institution. All the accredited institutions with IQAC are expected to submit AQRs to NAAC as self-review progress reports annually. IQAC creates internal awareness on quality issues within the organization. Next slide, the role of IQAC. Major step in pushing long term. IQAC in any institution is responsible for all quality matters. It is the prime responsibility of IQAC to initiate, plan, and supervise various activities that are necessary to increase the quality of education imparted in an institution or college. In that sense, the role of IQAC is not merely to prepare IQA or SSR, but to ensure sustained quality improvement on proper reporting of the same. I'll be dealing with the processes tomorrow. That's all from my side today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the valuable and informative address. With this, we come to the end of today's session. I would like to thank the chief guest of the inaugural session, Dr. Pratibha Singh ma'am, for being here with us today, Director of the Institute, Professor P.N. Jha sir, for blessing the event, FTP conveners, Dr. Amitabh Pandey sir and Dr. Pallavi Pathak ma'am, for enriching the session, and a big hearty thanks to all the esteemed participants for their time and patience. We would love to see you tomorrow for the second day of the FDP. Please remember, the timing for tomorrow's session is from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. The link details will be shared with you soon on the Telegram group. Till then, goodbye, stay safe, and have a nice evening ahead. Thank you.